Hi, hello. Welcome to Telugu NRI Radio Wednesday Immigration Show every Wednesday evening 6 p.m. Central Time with attorney Lucas Garritson from Burgos and Laws Firm. So we are coming every week on Wednesday to bring the more USA immigration updates and future the information what will happen or what new rules are which be clarified in this every week Wednesday show. Today we brought a couple of topics and we will discuss with Lucas and I think we had a good news on yesterday. Biden took or maybe Biden signed on the Trump initiated rule, and more interesting updates will get from Lucas. We will welcome to Lucas today's show. Hi, Lucas. Good evening. How are
Hi,
you?
Venkat. I'm doing well, Venkat. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Thank you for having me, and thank you for all our viewers for tuning in this week at the same time, 6 o'clock on every Wednesday.
Yeah. So, Lucas, today we're gonna discuss about the October filing 485 adjustment of status and the 2021 cap process. And also we got a lot of inquiries and we saw a lot of issues on 485 rejection and different WhatsApp groups. And maybe we will try more questions or more information. We will touch more information on 485 adjustment of derivative files got rejected.
Correct.
So we can go for step by step and yeah, I want to hear the good news from you. What is the good news?
Well, good news is, as of yesterday, it's officially withdrawn the challenge from the Trump administration to withdraw H4 EAD. So we can now all rest, at night knowing that the program is still going to be enacted for, the foreseeable future. And, again, for those who might not understand what H4 EAD is, H4 is a derivative benefit or beneficiary of a principal H1B immigrant, usually spouse or child. And then the EAD allows a person who is in H4 status, if the principal non-immigrant has an approved I-140 and the visa for the GC is not yet available, the spouse can go ahead and apply for employment authorization. So this helps, family unity, increased income for the family, more support that way. And, the whole purpose of the program was centered towards people who are stuck on these horrendous backlogs, waiting at EB2, EB3 categories. So now, it's a good victory moving in the right direction, keeping H4 EAD, but hopefully this year, if things progress like we expect them to, we won't need that, as much in the future because we'll be able to address this humongous backlog that's been pending for some time.
Okay. So it means Trump brought this new rule on 2019, I think, end of the H4 EAD to end. But luckily, Biden moved forward as a good approach, good step to take. And so a lot of H4 holders happily work what they pursue or what they desire to work on in respect to the working.
Right.
So is H4 EAD, we are talking about the H4 and H4 EAD, still we are in a situation who applied the H4 application, but still under process. It's taking the longer time. It's taking the more than 6 months and get the EAD. What do you think? Biden will remove the biometric? Even I see maybe one tweeting or something we'll hear the good news on H4 EAD. Do you have any information about the biometric and the future H4 EAD process? It meant faster to get EAD?
Well, that's a good question. Right now, I haven't heard any news officially of what would happen to streamline the application process, much like how they used to be 3 or 4 years ago. And unfortunately, at this time, we had a huge influx of people filing, their GC cases, and all of the GC cases are going to require biometrics also. So, we just increased the line by 20,000 plus, with all these recent filings. So unfortunately for H4 EAD, the process has been long. It's been getting longer, and now we can expect it to still progressively get longer due to the recent filings. So, it's a short-term pain that we have to endure, but long-term, I believe that this is something that will be addressed and fixed.
Okay. Yeah, Lucas, we can discuss H4 and H4 EAD related maybe after some time, the show. Then we can come to the H1B cap, the final rule. The president passed 60 days, right? It means, can you give the more information on that one?
Correct. So there's been a few policies right now, the regulations, rules that went into effect. And the president across the board, the first day in office, did a 60-day pause, so to speak, on the implementation of these rules. Now, DOL has already started the process of removing their final rule that had the wage rates increasing, the definition of an employer-employee relationship, et cetera. And what we've done is now, can you see me?
Yes.
I'm sorry. All right. So what we've done now is focus on, there we are. I apologize. I lost my train of thought. So we're talking about
the final rule, H1B cap.
Correct. So the DOL rule was rescinded, and the administration has published a final rule to remove that rule, and which is good news. Now, the H1B fiscal year 2022 cap can still be impacted by this new rule. However, it seems like, and this is something that I think most people can appreciate moving forward from what we've endured the past 4 years, is it's a responsible person or leader who goes into a term and will look at the evidence of what the program needs, look at what the history of the program has been, and look at to the future of what the program should be. And I think it's irresponsible for someone to just go in and just say, I'm going to change everything back just because the previous president changed it to this way. And I think that's what we're seeing right now. So there's some rules that we know just are outside the scope of what Congress intended. Those rules have already been in the process of being rescinded. The H1B cap rule is, I think, still under review as far as the determination of what to do. And that's more or less what this 60 days allows. Now, I firmly believe that the rule will ultimately not be implemented in regards to this year's cap or in the future year's caps. But we still have to be prepared, and we still have to be ready that, we don't want to wait till the end of the 60 days, which would be right at the beginning of the registration period for H1B registration, and then be completely caught off guard with some new process or procedure. So it is still kind of, doing double work, but we always want to be prepared so we don't have any issues.
Okay. So as we are discussing about the H1 cap, the information, what do you think this 2022 H1B cap random process will get the random process, or it means, as I don't see last 1 week any update on H1B cap. Can you share if you have which process is going to be implemented by March for 2022 CAP?
I would say, the traditional random selection process is probably the one that's going to go at the end of the day. I mean, that's a very high probability of what's going to happen. There's nothing official yet, so we can't say officially, yes, this will happen or not. But we have to, just wait and see how the agencies and the administration handle the change and what the processes will be. Now, another thing we need to look at is this year, due to last year and everything that happened with the registration process, along with other changes to, current regulations and memos and things like that, there was a tremendous amount of cases filed and approvals. And I think this year we're going to see a continued increase in filings. And I think that, the current system that's being used is the one that's the best suited for this. So, we'll just have to wait and see how everything goes.
Okay. So let we come to the October adjustment of status of filing. So what is the status as who applied in October 2020 adjustment of status? Do you see all or got receipt numbers, or do you see any rejections? If you see any rejections, what is the reasons?
So as we've discussed in weeks past, I think, obviously this agency works on a FIFO system, which means first in, first out. So of all the cases we filed in the first part of October, we've already seen receipts. Well, pretty much for the most of the month of October, I think we have receipts for everyone. And what we've seen so far, some of the early filings have already received biometric appointments and have approved EADs and advanced paroles. So they're going to, and a lot of the EAD and advanced parole approvals are going to be factored into where the person lives, depending on how long or how much demand there is for biometrics. Again, like we were discussing at the beginning of the show for H4 and H4 EAD, the demand for biometric appointments is really going to be a governing factor into how soon you can have your advanced parole and EAD. And I know a lot of people are stressed at the moment due to the fact they probably have family back home that might have health issues or anything like that, and they're waiting on these documents so they can travel. So, we just have to be patient, and hopefully we start seeing more and more approved here shortly. As far as rejections go, we haven't seen any specifically with our office like this, but I know I've heard a lot of from other people where rejections have come in where maybe the forms weren't completed correctly, and the forms were rejected because, and usually I think the common denominator with this is going to be for family members where when you have your principal applicant, maybe the person who's currently in H1 that you're filing for, we select in the adjustment of status that we're filing for, employment-based, things like this. And from what I've heard, other people have left it blank because they think common sense would tell them that the spouse or kids are not going through that process because they're not employment based. They would be derivatives. But USCIS is rejected for those reasons. Maybe some other reasons would be the funds not being sufficient with the checks provided, maybe the wrong filing fee amounts. And these are all, varied cases. And for anything that's happened to anyone, I know it's worrisome. Don't panic. There's always a solution to every problem. And you have to, be patient with these processes and realize that, we did have a large number of people applying at one time. USCIS didn't provide much advance notification as far as what would be acceptable or not in certain regards to some of these filings. And also at the same time, in years past, if there was something wrong, USCIS would return the package, but allow you to, unless there was something, just a tremendous error made, they would allow you to resubmit without losing your place in line. So a lot of these policies have changed where they're more drastic. And an example of this is for people who file for asylum status. Under the last president, they changed the policy where if one field, like your middle name, if you have a middle name or not, if that's left blank, they would reject the whole package. So you literally, if you don't have middle name, you have to put NA or whatever it is for every single field in the application. So, you're not alone. If anything bad happened or the case was rejected, it's something that can be resolved. It can, and we can. It just takes a little bit of time and patience, and we can get everything back on track.
Okay. Lucas, you provided a lot of information. Just I need to discuss step by step in the 485, the rejection, adjustment of status. The first thing is I would like to discuss with you regarding what is 3A and 9B. I hear a lot of questions. Maybe I hear a lot of rejection on this one. What exactly this?
I don't know the fields off the top of my head, but if I were to, guess, I would expect it's what I just said about there's a field where it asked, is this a family-based or employment-based? It goes on down to say if it's employment-based, are you related to, the petitioner, or do you have any ownership interest in the petitioning organization? Like I said, usually I think, common sense would tell you if you're filing an employment-based application for adjustment of status, that you would be looking at the principal applicant, and that each derivative, wife and kids, you wouldn't necessarily say it would be an employment-based, but we knew before probably this summer of those changes that were made in that regard. So we were able to mention that and have that correctly done. And I think, again, like I said, it's not the fault of really any other attorney who might have missed that. It's just they might have missed the announcement or news that came through in regards to that field, because in the past, that's how it was done.
Okay. So what if, let's say, due to some misrepresentation or maybe misselection of the options or maybe parts, so it got rejected for the primary applicant and the derivative applications. Let's say it means if any application got rejected, those are fall into the 2014 August priority date. The current is not priority date is your retrogression to take accept the filing 485 adjustment of status. In this case, will they reapply again on the same receipt number, or they should be wait until get their priority date to accept the filing date?
See, so there's the good question. If it's rejected, there's not an actual receipt number issued to it. Now, in years past, USCIS would look for the completeness of everything, and if you met the requirements, they would open the case, cash the checks, assign the receipt number, and then notify you of the deficiency in the case and allow you through RFE or some other method to go ahead and fix that error. A lot of that has changed over the past 4 years, where even small errors, it rejects complete package. So we have, and the reason I've heard a lot of this happening with those categories is AILA, American Immigration Lawyers Association, is working with the liaison office with DHS to try and see what we can do about, if this happened, a resubmission process. So I think that's still in the works as far as communication. and I believe everything should be fine as far as resubmission. I know there's traditional methods of, nunc pro tunc and other things like this where we can show if it's no fault of the applicant, they're maintain their non-immigrant status as how it's been before, and they're not in removal proceedings. That typically that's something that USCIS will accept for a filing. And nunc pro tunc is just a Latin term where it's basically they're going back and basically accepting the filing as if it were filed at that time back at that previous date, so it was filed properly.
Okay. So even I see a couple of rejection on the not represented the alien number. Is that important to enter? It means provide the alien number in 485 application?
Correct. So when you file any type of petition that gives you an immigrant benefit or would give you an immigrant benefit in the future, what that means is the government's going to assign you an A number. Now, a lot of people think, well, when I was a student, I also had A number on my EAD and things like this. And, technically that's not true. There is a number that's associated with that we use certain times for H1B filings, especially during CAP season, that allow the service to identify that person not only through their CVIS ID, but also through that A number associated with the work authorization. But when you get an A number, it's going to be like a 9-digit identifier, much like a social security number. And, this will be associated with your A file, which stands for alien file. And there's actually going to be a physical file categorized under your A number, and it's going to have all the petition documents, applications, everything in there. So it's very key. If you don't have a corresponding A number to your application, how is the service going to find the previously filed I-140 or associate it with your A file? And like I said, in years past, if you didn't include that, it wasn't something that was fatal to the filing. They would, allow you to have a chance to cure that or correct it as long as the majority of the application was there. But now these recent policy changes are pretty much saying, hey, look, I see a sufficient amount of information.
Yeah, sorry viewers, we saw some issues, connection issues, and we are back. Yeah. Lucas, we are discussing 485 adjustment of status. We saw a lot of rejection on and all segment is a primary and a derivative and kits also. The one question is I saw it. The fee is different. Each applicant is a primary and derivative and kit, or?
So the adjustment fee is for applicants that are derivative and also the primary applicant is $12.25. There are, so if you're over a certain age, I think the fee is $7.50, and if you're under a certain age, the fee is $7.50. So for the most part, everyone qualifies under the $12.25 fee.
Yeah, okay. So why it is approved? It means God receptive, primary and dependent spouse, and the kid got rejected actually due to the incorrect payment information.
Yes, in regards to, you were saying what does it mean?
Yes, why it is rejected the kid derivative 485 adjustment of status?
Well, it's something that needs to be cured with the correct filing fee. And then usually with a nunc pro tunc or something like this, it can be resubmitted and the receipts being issued.
Okay. Lucas, give me a second, 1 second. So, yeah. Yeah, sorry viewers, I see there's the network issues and all streaming applications got disconnected and restarted. Unfortunately, YouTube link got disconnected and Facebook is streaming. Just you can follow the Facebook link and get more information on the next show, next coming questions and answers. So Lucas, let's say I have a scenario for the 485. The same thing already you discussed. Just I want to touch base of the one, the H1B holder sent a question. He's saying this, my derivative application got rejected for additional alien information needed. The question is 9A was left unanswered. Now the PD is not current. Can I still update the forms or resend the derivative application as a primary was accepted?
So on that regard, like I said, there's two things happening right now. The ILA is reaching out to coordinate to see, about that. And then also there's another provision that's always available. It's not 100%, it's at the discretion of the USCIS, like I said, with the NUNC Pro-Tunc submission. So, it's something, where I think as far as the 9B box and the other selection to say that you're employment-based, I think there was probably quite a few where they had that same issue. So I'm hoping that things will be resolved in a way where we can maybe keep all the packages together. So if primary was accepted and derivative was not, that there's a way that we can cure that in the future.
Okay. So I have the one more question on the same 485 adjustment of status. He applied in October 2020, filing receipt number as some of, it means he's a question about the centers with names. So the receipt numbers are some of us that received MSc receipts and few of their friends received the LIN and SRC. So what is the MSc Service Center and what basis these receipts are being issued by USCIS?
So that's the National Benefit Center. And if you file I-140 and downgrade, or if you and your petitioner is in a certain region or area, it goes to the Texas Service Center. And if you file I-140 downgrade and your petitioner is in the other regions, it goes to the California Service Center. Or I'm sorry, not California. It goes to California goes to the Nebraska Service Center, which is LIN. So SRC means Texas, LIN is Nebraska, and the MSC is the National Benefit Center. So it just depends on what type of case you have, and if you downgrade it, it's where your petitioner's office is located and which state it is.
Okay. So in this, I have a note on this one, the center. So I see the 485 application adjustment of status, both the wife and primary applicant and spouse, the receipt numbers got from the Texas Center, but kid application went to MSc Center. Is there any time, is there any age period to divide the application and process different centers or something? Or
that's going to be in regards to the biometrics, right? So biometrics for kid under a certain age is not required.
Okay. What is the age? What is the age?
14.
Oh, under 14, they don't.
Correct.
Okay, they don't have the biometric. Okay. So in this case, that's why the fees is different or something. We apply for the biometric. We added the $80 for biometric process.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think it's good information. Lucas, we got a question from Facebook. Sujit. I'm a recent graduated student and looking forward to my first job. I lost my initial card with the USPS and had to apply for the replacement card 765 I having offers from the other companies, but unable to work because I don't have the physical card. Is there any way I can expedite my case with USCIS? If yes, can you explain the options?
Yes, so this happens time to time. Unfortunately, if you're OPT or STEM OPT, you won't be able to work on unless you have the physical card in hand. If you're CPT, obviously you wouldn't have a card, you would have just the I-20. It's very important that you consider this. Just because you don't have a card doesn't mean your unemployment period is not counting against you. So under different factors, if you're in post-completion, STEM, or whatever, you have to maintain a certain amount of hours worked. Now, you can always do training or unpaid internships or things like this with your petitioner, and it's very important that you make sure you communicate or at least try and get one of those positions. And obviously, as soon as USCIS resubmits the EAD card, that would help out tremendously as far as if you haven't ever had your SSN, you can get all that set up or go ahead and start working somewhere. Now, what you need to do is also, in the past, it was easy to call the 1-800 number. Now, everything's pretty much directed to the website. And what you have to do is go ahead and, put in your e-request and then wait on an officer to maybe make an assessment for that. You might get lucky if you try and call the customer service hotline to see if they can expedite. But unfortunately, this has been getting more and more difficult over the past 6 months to get a hold of an officer, communicate directly. So just keep trying the best you can to get in touch with someone so you can expedite it.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Lucas, as for my knowledge, we will give the biometric for L2 authorization card and J2 authorization card, but not H4 EAD. So is biometric is mandatory for GC EAD, or is there any option to skip the biometric?
It's been mandatory. It is mandatory for the GC EAD. And that's just more or less, you're doing a background check. That's the purpose of the biometrics. And, in the past, that was not a requirement for H4. And I think we see why now, because, USCIS is not opening more and more centers to do biometrics. So the queues, the lines are getting much longer. So I think it would be nice to have everyone go through the biometrics in that regard, but in the same sense, like we've discussed multiple times, we have to look at what a practical solution would be. There's so many people that need the service, and then there's only so many spots. So it's something that has to be balanced and taken care of from the government, from the agency's viewpoint.
Okay. Yeah, Lucas, I have a interesting scenario on H4, the H4 application and H4 EAD. One H4 applicant, the current validity until March 25th, 2021. He applied the extension for H4, is under process, but his H4 EAD, the validity until June 30. Let's say, here's the dilemma. It means the current H4 process is under process, but EAD validity until June 30. Whether he continue even I-94 expired after May 25th to continue the job until June 30?
I've never really seen a scenario for that happen, but as long as you have a pending I-539 requesting an extension of stay, you're maintaining your non-immigrant status, obviously, as long as the principal non-immigrant is still maintaining their status. And if your EAD allows you to work until that time, then obviously you can continue working. There's no requirement of I-94 to work with that visa category. The authorization for you to work is actually issued through the EAD itself. So by that category C26, it authorizes the user to work. Obviously, if you complete an I-9 form, which is what's the requirement from the government to prove the ability for that person to work, you would have your passport and EAD card. So if there was a scenario like that, you need to make sure you maintain your status just so you don't fall out of status. But at the same time, there's no requirement to have an approved H4 to work on H4 EAD.
Yeah, even I saw this scenario a little surprised. I don't know how the agents are giving the two different.
Well, sometimes what happens is someone will travel, and so like let's say I'm come back in as an H4 holder. At first, I have an H4 approved until that later date you said with the EAD, and then I leave and I come back in, and the officer gives me a shorter period of duration. That happens sometimes, but typically, the dates always match.
Okay. Then we come back on topic. About the comprehensive immigration, Biden comprehensive immigration. Do you see any update the last couple of days?
I've seen it quite a bit. I've seen there's a lot of news in regards to, especially within our association, AILA. There's been a lot of information where we're trying to have open channels of communication with all of our clients and notify them through social media or whatever it might be, the pending changes that are coming. Now, we've already heard about the deferred action for childhood arrivals, certain things with people seeking asylum, certain people who are in removal proceedings, and the changes that are proposed. Obviously, there's hundreds of other issues that we need to address and fix, one of which is the employment-based backlog for people from India, China, in regards to those employment-based categories. And I think, what we're going to see, and it's going to happen pretty quickly. We all know, we heard the news here lately, we have an impeachment trial that's going to occur for Donald Trump, which, is kind of taking away a little bit of the limelight and the forward momentum that was there for these changes. But I think, hopefully after that's done, when we really have a debate about what's happening with this comprehensive immigration reform, we start to see how that takes shape. Now, there's a lot of pieces that can move and change in this process. And I think what is beneficial to most of our listeners who might be in a group of employment-based is, I think it's easy to say if there's any senators on the fence about whether they're going to support or not. I think it's easy to say, like, we have high-skilled workers, we have people contributing to, tech, big tech, and all these factors. And I think that, if there are any compromises made, I don't believe it will affect this group. I think you're really going to see a lot of progress made in terms of pathways to citizenship. And maybe those pathways, have temporary green cards in them for other people. Maybe that pathway works the same way for a lot of our employment base. We just don't see what the actual pieces of, the working parts are at the moment. But there's a lot of ideas that have shown that this problem is a serious problem and that it's going to be addressed. And, you and I spoke, Venkat, last week. Let's reach out and coordinate with, American Telugu Association. Let's coordinate with local representatives, senators. Let's email, message, call them. Let's say, look, I'm in this situation. Please, if this is up on the table, I want to address this issue. So we'll know more and more in the next couple of weeks. But I'm very positive and excited. And if I were to put a percentage of something happening, I would say we're in the high 80%, low 90% of this really impacting and helping clear this backlog.
Okay. But one question, Lucas, from my side about the maybe 485 or green card, about the comprehensive immigration. What do you think? Did you get any information from ILA? What is going to be implemented for provide or given green cards to backlog?
You see, as we discussed in the past, when we're talking about increasing the per country quota, right, the allotment under these categories, that was what the previous bill, we discussed a few weeks ago, was addressing. Like, hey, over a period of years, we're going to increase the quota to help diminish this backlog. Well, that bill is just an amendment to another bill. It's a small piece of the pie of the puzzle that goes to our overall immigration code. What this would be is there's nothing that has to stay or that can't be changed when we're looking at. That's why we say when it's comprehensive, we're going to fix all the problems the best we can at the moment. And Congress has the authority. They could say, look, anyone who's had I-140 approved more than 2 years and the visa is not available, that a visa will be available to them, or they can say that they can issue up to 1 million extra visas to help cure this backlog. There's numerous different avenues we could have to get this problem fixed. So I remember everyone getting excited and had their hopes on this other bill that went through to the Senate this past month, 6 weeks ago. But that was a small patch that really, in my opinion, was going to cheat a lot of people who's been maybe enduring while this backlog continues to grow. And I think that really this spring, and we should really see movement probably by the early part of the summer to show, hey, look, this is kind of how the plan's coming together. And then when we get to that stage, obviously it's even more important to reach out to our representatives and say, look, I really need this. I have a kid who might be U.S. citizen. I have a house. I have 2 cars, American dream. And I do not have sustainable day-to-day knowledge or ability to stay here with, any day my visa could be revoked or something could happen. And it leaves our family, kind of upended in chaos. And we're not able to plan our retirement. We're not able to plan what our kids' future is going to be. And that's something I really believe is on a one-to-one, situation where you discuss that and explain your story to someone. I think that, that no one would think that it's okay for someone today who gets an I-140 approved, that it's okay to wait 70 years before you get GC. It's just obnoxious, and it's really, kind of a torture in a sense of knowing you can get a benefit, but you won't be able to get it for a long period of time.
Okay. Yeah, hopefully we'll see in the next couple of months with updated information, the green card backlogs. Lucas, so can you share if anything you want to today is any other than what we discussed today? Maybe if you can share if anything we missed today's session.
Well, I think one key common thread that we've been discussing over the past few months is with any hope or optimism or any worry or anything, I think patience goes a long way. I think, just because something might have happened or something good or bad, it doesn't mean everything is extremely the best or extremely the worst. We have to keep it even keel until we get to the finish line. Finish line means having GC in hand or whatever other benefit it might be if you're waiting to become citizen or getting a student visa or waiting for H1 and the cap. I think you have to have a thought process where you can't rely too much on, a day-to-day feeling, because you're going to have ups and downs throughout the journey. And it's a long path, and it's not a fast race or anything like this. It takes years. And I think keeping everything in that mindset of knowing that, we're moving forward and having patience with this, I think that's going to help make sure you're not going to have any extra gray hairs or have too much stress. And, at the end of the day, there's things we look at now, what we can control and do for today. We don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. And the one thing I tell all my clients, and, message boards, our platform that we have here is a great asset, a great tool, a great way to spread knowledge. But at the same time, everyone's unique. And we don't want to rely on what happened to a friend here, or this happened, to this guy I know, or this was in Facebook group or WhatsApp, and oh my goodness, the same thing's going to happen to me, or why is this going to happen? And to have that kind of dread or worry before you even know what the result's going to be for yourself, I think we would all feel a lot better if we just had slowed down a little bit, had patience, and worked through the issues, and got to the finish line together. And I think, that's, if I can leave a thought today, that's what I would suggest, is just patience and not to stress out too much about anything.
Okay. I think we need to build the patience first. Okay. Thank you, Lucas. I think we can close the session today now. But before end the shows, we sincerely apologize to everyone who was viewers and listeners. We had a connection issue in between the show. So we apologize from our technical team. So in future, we will try to broadcast in high quality and without interruptions. We sincerely apologize on this one. So thank you everyone today who participated and who sent the questions, and keep it. So we are requesting to everyone, please participate every Wednesday show and get more information on USA immigrations. That has Lucas said is be patient. So wait until your maybe receipt, or maybe your packet will, maybe your get EAD or advanced payroll. Be patient. After that, you can enjoy when you get this EAD and advanced payroll. So thank you very much, everyone. If you have any questions, or if you want to know more information on any USA immigration scenarios or topics, you can send an email to info@bgimmlaw.com. So if you have any complicated situation, if you have any complicated scenario, don't hesitate and call to us or send to email to us. We will try to help you, and we will try to guide you to get educated and take a right direction on your scenario. So we are requesting to everyone, send an email. Don't hesitate. Simple. Send an email to info@immlaw.com. Lucas will ready to give the appropriate the transparent information on US immigration based on your scenarios and your situations. So yeah, today we are going to end the show now. We will continue this show every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Central Time. Good night, and maybe good evening and good night until next show. Bye-bye. We will connect and next Wednesday. See you on Wednesday, 6 p.m. Central Time on next week. Thank you very much.